I think one of the most frustrating things about Ofsted at the minute is how unwilling they are to do any sort of self-reflection and ever consider that they're at fault, that they need to change, and they are ever wrong. And the head of Ofsted made a speech at Education Fest last week, and a couple of things that he said just really do prove this point. And one of the points he said was, judge me on what happens in September. Because obviously he has been widely criticised for the rushed nature of these new report cards and his new inspection framework. A backlash to it, because ultimately it just looks like they've changed the toxic one-word grades for some sort of wishy-washy colour chart, has invited an awful lot of criticism, and rightly so in my opinion. Ofsted have now said they're not going to respond to its own consultation until September, giving leaders just weeks to digest this new inspection framework before they resume in November. And of course, that won't cause any undue stress or pressure or increased workload on schools at all, will it? Now, asked about how he's going about building better trust with the profession, he said it's gone to a certain level, but until we publish the document, there is nothing anyone else can do. And that is a difficult state. You don't say. This is where he completely undermines his own idea of building trust in the profession, because when asked on the report plans, he said Ofsted could have taken another 1 or 2 more years, but that wasn't what the system was saying. The system was saying Ofsted needed urgent and quick reform. Who said that? People in the education system, is that who you are blaming for this? So again, you're not taking any accountability or responsibility. You are putting the blame back on us as teachers, and again, completely gaslighting us. There's a guarantee if you were to ask anyone working in education what they want with Ofsted, it's not quick and urgent reform. They want Ofsted to deep dive into a bin. He talks about these test visits under these new inspection frameworks and saying that, they're taking the time to get it about right. Do you know why? Because these have been the messages I've been receiving from schools who've had these test visits, where they're saying it's much more intense than a previous visit. It's worse, not better, and a complete backward step. But, he says he believes there's plenty of reasons to be cheerful and reasons to be optimistic. And in this speech, he also made a joke about how getting rid of those toxic one-word gradings is going to play havoc with house prices. Where he basically said, taking away what's been used for the last few decades, what impact will it have? What's Rightmove going to do? Which annoyed me, because this clearly shows the weight and severity, how much these inconsistent toxic one-word grades have, and the stress it puts on school leaders. Especially when it was something directly mentioned in Ruth Perry's coroner's inquest, where she talked to her own GP and husband about how she feared and worried that this inadequate grade that she got was going to affect house prices, meaning she was letting down parents and everyone within her local community. I know Martin Oliver was not in charge of Ofsted during what happened to Ruth Perry, but Ofsted knew this. Ofsted knew how much impact these inconsistent one-word grades have on house prices, increasing them by 15 grand. And that just gave them all the power. This is the thing with Ofsted. They are so far up their own backside, where it's just all about making sure Ofsted looks good. He says Ofsted is probably one of the best known regulators and inspectors in the world, let alone in this country. Best known doesn't necessarily mean it's the best. It clearly is not the best. It's best known mainly because of all the controversies it's caused, like being found guilty to contribute to the death of a colleague. Now, obviously, he was not in charge of Ofsted during what happened to Ruth Perry, but when he did come to power, he promised that they were going to learn those lessons. They did their own internal investigation, saying that they will act upon the findings. But have they? So when he says things like this, I am not optimistic. And I'll make it clear, I would love nothing more that come September to be eating some humble pie, to be making a video like this saying, look, I got this wrong. Ofsted have really turned the corner. They are really building that trust back, and they are putting teacher wellbeing and workload at the forefront to make sure they are not the main reason over 40,000 teachers are still leaving the profession. I would love nothing more to make a video stating that, but there's something in my mind saying, I don't think I'm going to be saying that. Because what's been proven to me time and time again is that Ofsted do not care about teachers. They do not care about school staff. The only thing Ofsted care about is themselves and doing whatever they can to justify their own existence rather than supporting the profession. And so we wait. We wait to see what happens come September. And like I said, I'd love nothing more to be proven wrong, but we shall see.